is the Rangers Journal Night.
Good afternoon, Internet. We've done it. We've made it to the end. This is your post-match briefing after Rangers drew 2-2 at Easter Road with Hibernian in the final game of what has been a tumultuous season, I think. But there is a fresh horizon. There's a fresh, fresh start for us all come this summer. Joining me to go through what was a controversial game, shall we say, is of course the magnificent Mitch. He'll be happy because his man is the top scorer for the season. Mitch, how are we doing, pal?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've never felt so bloody relieved that the season's finished. We were served up some cheating. We were served up some nonsense. We were served up chaos. Kind of generally sums up the season, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I think it's a total microcosm of the Rangers season in a nutshell, like you say. We'll come on to the events, shall we say. Obviously, the controversies, but we did obviously start off on the front foot. The game looked really open at the start. I think we were getting a lot of joy. Hibs were playing a really, really high line. Dessers had a couple of half chances, but then on 2 minutes, there's a bit of a mistake in the Hibs back line. Quick ball, good play with Raskin, great header, and Dessers with a fantastic turn and finish.
Never in doubt, mate. Never in doubt. Do you know why it was never in doubt? It's one of the hard ones, mate. He never misses the hard ones.
It's a great touch. It does, but he takes it really, really well. Touching the chest, spin, finish, and that is him on 17 league goals for the season. He is officially the 2024-25 SPL top goal scorer. I think it's obviously not surprising to see that he has obviously come under some slack, but this is what you need. You need a guy to score goals.
This is it, and I think this comes down to the conversation we were having on Thursday night of people are very, very quick to want shot at Dessers, but 17 league goals plus, give or take 4, maybe 5 assists in the league this season. The numbers speak for themselves. I'm not saying start him every single week. I'm not, but I think a measured head needs to be used on it where you say there's bigger issues in our club to face right now than just Dessers up front. But again, sublime finish for the big man. He scores the hard ones well and the easy ones hard.
Yeah, absolutely does. I think obviously he's kind of suffered by being the only guy that's been consistently available. I think he's kind of suffered for that, which he's not. He's not the only guy that's done that. Obviously, excuse me. It's just part of the game, and we can't. It's unfair to expect him to bury every single chance he gets, but he does. The problem is that he misses a lot of the other chances. Clearly not. It's a pretty open game. Hibs are going for it. Rangers are going for it. It's a pretty, it's a bit of an end of season kickabout. I think we were all kind of currently trying to just kind of see it out, and then we get the moment. We have a moment where there's a bit of kind of good played on the the left hand side through Rangers. A good ball gets played through to Raskin. He knocks it in whilst wrestling with Bashiri. The ball crosses the line, hits the side netting, then hits the bottom of Bashiri's foot, who is in the Hibs net. Nick Walsh proceeds to not entertain it. Hibs then go up the park and score. VAR doesn't intervene. There's a questionable offside decision in the Hibs goal as well. That's proven to be not true. Mitch, what happens?
The whole thing is honestly... The whole thing genuinely left me flabbergasted. It is the only way I can put it, as speechless. And it's not very often I'm speechless. We have the ball went in the net twice in the Hibs goal. It was already it was already past the line, and Bashiri just made sure by being behind the goal to knock it back in. It wasn't even so much as looked at. We were given the utter nonsense line of it was not clear and conclusive was the message came back. Well, sorry, but we've got VAR, we've got goal line technologies, we've got things like that. But we don't have goal line technology in the SPFL because
we don't have it.
Apparently, it costs £2.50 too much. But there's 3 to 5 different angles available to VAR to conclusively say yay or nay. In my opinion, personally, VAR never looked at that properly. And they never gave it the time that it was due looking at. And if VAR were checking that, the game should have been paused irrespectively anyway. So then Hibs should never have been able to go up the pitch to score anyway. So the whole thing's an absolute sugar show. And it's not the first time that there's been a high-profile incident with Kevin Clancy and with Clancy in one of our games again. We've seen it with Diamande with the red that should never have been a red.
Nick Walsh, not Kevin Clancy. Nick Walsh.
Nick Walsh, you know what it is, mate? I think it's just
they're all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same.
The second high-profile incident in as many months with Walsh versus like with us, where he sent off Diamande for absolute nothing. He's disallowed a perfectly valid goal this time. Both of these decisions are clear match-defining decisions. I get that in the grand scheme of things, today's makes no difference. It's a dead rubber end of the season. But if we don't call that out now in a game that means zip all, then we just look like when the worst of that is it's when they do something wrong and get another high-profile decision wrong next season, they'll just say that we're greeting about it afterwards. When you're like, no, like, he also had a howler midweek in the Dundee game. He had an absolute howler. So how he was allowed to officiate another high-profile game this weekend, beyond me. Genuinely beyond me on that one. And we'll get trotted out there as we are the people who's pointed out in the comments there. We'll get caught. Colin will come out during these VAR show and say, I'm very sorry once again, just like he did after the cup final, just like he's done in so many other instances. And what, as a club, we've just to continue to accept, sorry, we got it wrong after the event. Sorry's no longer good enough. I want somebody's head on a spike at that point, and I want somebody's backside out a job for this, because from start to finish, from the refereeing department, is an absolute disgrace in Scotland. And I'm hoping that with us having American owners coming in, we all know the land of the sued. At this point, is that going to be the route that we have to go down, where we need to start looking at things like taking it down the court of arbitration and things like that, where we say, tell you what, one or two decisions you go, it happens over the course of the season, but consistently incorrect calls throughout the season, that's a partner behaviour.
It absolutely is. We've come to a point now where it's decisions they're big decisions. The whole point of, I understand, I've seen people talking in the comments saying that you can't use VAR to check to see if the ball's crossed the line, but if that's the case, then fine. But you've got the linesman. The quote that was used, but I think it was the BBC, was that there was not enough substantial evidence to prove the ball was conclusively over the line. The very first picture you see, the camera replay you see, proves the ball is over the line. The linesman on the opposite side is in line with it. You can see that the ball has crossed the line before anything else.
To see that was across the line was a pair of working eyes.
You absolutely did. It's just another mistake by an official who clearly has some sort of issue with Rangers, and in a game that meant nothing. It wasn't on the telly. There was no reason for it to be. You're not going to get anything special out of it.
No.
You're not going to get anything from it at all. It's a bad decision. It was an avoidable mistake, again, by the referees not doing their job properly. And this is as simple as that. And you understand, like you say, over the course of a season, mistakes go for you, mistakes go against you. It's just the nature of the game, when the ideas of how the rules should be, they're not enforced, they're implemented. Then there is room for, it's open for interpretation. That's not open for interpretation. The ball is either across the line or it's not. But this is the same group of referees who claim that things were more out than in. So in this case, the ball was more over than it wasn't. It's as simple as that. But then from that, obviously we have this controversy. Rangers TV, before it cut off, John Brown, fair play to him, called out, and he used the word corruption. He used the word corruption several times. Tom Miller, who is not everybody's cup of tea, tries to calm it down a bit. This is not the voice of Rangers TV, or that's not just no. It should be. I think it should be. This is the problem. Is that even if that's the idea of Rangers TV, is that no, we're not calling it corruption, whereas the guy that can see for what it is calling it corruption, then why are we not calling it out?
But also, this is something that as a club we've been hoaching at for years now, as our legends and our prominent figures, of days of yesterday, not being vocal and not using their platforms to call things out. Whereas, those across the road, they get their friends in media, they get ex-players trotted out here, there and everywhere. It's about time, sorry, but fight fire with fire. And I know that sounds petty, but also I do think genuinely every other team in the league should be looking at this when you're looking at games like that Dundee versus St Johnstone game. Again, that was a huge error for a team that had huge consequences for St Johnstone at the end of the game, who were mathematically relegated that night. That is a decision that potentially costs them millions of pounds over the course of this year. Over the course of next season, sorry.
I mean, we've already seen it. Anybody that's seen it has been the St Johnstone owners already had to come out and practically beg their support for money because of a decision that was incorrectly made by the same referee, who's then, like you say, been given a high-profile game, and it's cost us, because we were 2-0 up at that point and we were flying. But from that, Hibs got the park, score, poor defending, I think, from Rangers, the refusal to stop the cross, but in a microcosm, this is just where have we seen this before? Where have we seen this before? Don't stop the cross. Don't try to run us. It's a decent finish, but even then, it goes through the goalie's legs in the middle of the goal. It should be getting stopped before that.
Aye, absolutely. Once again, it was nonsense defending. I like no nonsense defending. We've been served up straight nonsense defending. And I think as well, the disheartening thing about today is it's another game where we've conceded another 2 goals with players who are genuinely far better than what they're showing. Without a shadow of a doubt, they're far better. Is it a tactics thing? Is it nobody can really be bothered because there's nothing left to play or whatever? But conceding an average of 2 goals per game in the last 12 games, it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, and that's the problem, and that's why you're not going to win titles. You can't win titles conceding stupid goals left, right, and centre, and that's something that needs to be seriously addressed over the course of the summer. The owners have got a hell of a job on their hands come, the 1st of June, the 1st of July, whenever they come back for pre-season. I think we're expecting, was it 23rd of June?
End of July, I think it's the week of the 23rd, I think.
The 23rd, they come back for pre-season.
Second last Monday, I think, in June.
I think last Monday in June, right? So they've obviously, the season's done now, so they've basically now got 5 or 6 weeks to really. There needs to be the groundwork put in place before that moment comes. I understand you can't get all your business done within 5 weeks post the season finishing because people go on holiday and all this kind of stuff. I understand that, but we cannot be in a situation where it comes to the end of August and we are still scrambling for a large percentage of the core members of our team. It just can't happen.
I'll be honest, I think based on the things that I've kind of read up on Thelwell and seen obviously over Thelwell's career and stuff, I don't see Kevin Thelwell getting us in that sort of mess. I genuinely think he's probably already got a short list and a long list already revised. I wouldn't be overly surprised if there was conversations taking place with players who know that they're not going to be playing next season at their current clubs, i.e. out of contract players. And I've said that in other pods where I think some of the signings this summer will be solid, not sexy. They are going to be players that come in. They are going to be good quality squad players. They're not, but they're going to be the players that if we are in one of our 4 games in 14 days runs, where you go, tell you what, we've got Ross County on Saturday, or we've got Motherwell on Sunday, or whatever, that you go, tag, you're in, and there is not a drop off in expected quality because we're not putting an untested 20-year-old in at the back.
Well, I mean, today probably could have been the time to put in an untested 20-year-old from the youth team, but no, we decided to bring on Tom Lawrence. We brought on Robin Proper, came on in the first half for the injured Leon Balogun. Colour me shocked, Leon Balogun get injured. Robin Proper didn't track his man. Bailey Rice did come on as well. We did score. Well, we think we scored. Some of us didn't see it because RTV decided to cut off at the start of the second half. So some of us seen it, some of us didn't. I unfortunately didn't, so I don't know what happened. I have not seen it since. I think it was a corner and a header from Raskin. He's getting good at the old headers, isn't he?
Do you know, he's been, one thing I will say, and I will commend, it's quite clearly, it looks like the work in maybe McCann and Shirai we're asking, is that midfield positional play of, it's okay, you don't just need to play that, the footballing version of a quarterback's role of being the playmaker. Go in there and just try, jump, make a nuisance of yourself. And I think now he's starting to reap the rewards of regularly making a nuisance of himself in the box, of just be there. And it's one thing I genuinely will say that under Barry we do well, which is put it in the mixer. Worst case scenario, the keeper catches it clean. Best case scenario, keeper flaps at it and you give yourself another half chance. You know, and you've got to, it's much like the lottery. You can't win it if you don't buy a ticket.
Simple as. I think Raskin's one of the few things you could say over the course of, you know, the 3 months or so since the arrival of Ferguson in the team. Raskin's been the standout player for most of the season anyway, but he's went up a level. It's just a shame that the other guys around about him perhaps haven't. I think there's been an improvement in Barron as well. I thought Barron had another decent game. You know, the big man Dessers led the line well as well. And I thought, you know, it's better than nothing.
I think with Barron, the biggest thing for him, I think, has been confidence. And I think it's been that it's not, I don't think that Clement didn't trust Barron. Like, because I'm not ever going to put words like that in a manager's mouth. I think the issue was obviously Barron had his layoff with the injury. And I think Clement knew how shaky a peg he was already on. And it's, how do you let the youngster who's just back from an injury, how do you give him minutes if the rest of the machine's not working? You know, if you've got one cog in the machine that's not working, then the rest of the machine's kind of kaput at that point. And I think that's genuinely where Barron fell a bit of victim.
He did. I think especially the first couple of games of the season. I always think back to the first game at Tynecastle where we were pretty poor. I think, let's be honest, it was a bit of a damp squib, but Barron was the standout. But I think when you've got a guy that's playing that role that he does, and he's the standout player in the team, that probably tells you there's a little bit of concern with the rest of the, like you say, the rest of the cogs in the machine.
That's it, you know, and I think what's maybe been good for the likes of Barron and some of the others is, where in one hand, you know, my frustrations about the players who haven't seen many minutes under Barry. Some of the players who haven't seen minutes under Clement have had more minutes under Barry. And I think that probably stands them quite good and quite a good stead getting into pre-season. But gives us a pre-season for a mental health break, doesn't it?
I mean, I think we really just needed to see the end of this season. It feels like a long time since, you know, the debacles at Hampden, like I say, the first game of the season at Tynecastle, which was just slog, the disappointment losing to Dynamo Kiev. That feels like, you know, 2 years ago, and it was only in, you know, September.
I don't think I had grey hair on the left-hand side at that point, but look at it now. It's like bloody Santa Claus.
I used to have hair.
Aye, then we moved into Hampden.
Honestly, God, don't even remind me. I mean, I know we've not really discussed the game as such, but it was at that point it kind of opened up. The game really opened up. Both teams were kind of going for it. Rangers again refused to stop
Poaching
the cross.
defending at the back.
Poaching defending at the back stick. There's one maybe about 30 seconds before it where the goalie can come out and collect it. He doesn't. Again, it's hard to be too. It's that corridor of uncertainty, if you want to call it that. Does the goalie come in? Does he not? It is a good cross by Cadden. I think he's been a consistently good footballer for Hibs this season. Both him and his brother are both really, really good crossers of the ball. But, again, it's the defending. It's not track markers. And at the back post, they stick it away. But then apart from that, both teams kind of go for it, try and get the win. We have a couple of chances at the end. Danilo's got a half chance. Cortez has got one. He gets put through, but he sticks it wide. Hibs have got a chance for the kind of last 30 seconds as well. Boyle misses a chance, and then it kind of peters out, and
I think the last 10 minutes, you could say the last 10 minutes of the game is probably perfectly summed up as last day of school vibes. Where everybody was just floating about. They've got the videos on. You're floating from class to class, and nobody was really caring.
I know. I think we were all just wanting the team to sit. I think they were all just wanting to sit down and watch Goonies. If that's what you used to do, that's what we used to do at school. Somebody always brought out the Goonies. That's what we watched.
It looks like a Viking. Thanks very much, we other people.
Mitch is looking good with you. Yeah, look, he's looking. Listen, Mitch
I'll take that, mate. Listen, this chap,
Mitch is
the lighting in this living room must be doing me wonders, isn't it?
He's absolutely looking dapper. If we don't bring you anything here at the Rangers Journal, is we bring you good looking podders.
Aye, we do what we can.
We bring you eye candy.
This is why you're top of the Bald League and top of the Ross League as well, mate.
I mean, this is why I'm only doing this. I'm only doing this to be crowned top Ross of the season and top Baldy of the season. I'm going for the double.
That's so I'll hand you the double right now.
I'm coming to collect my double. Thank you all to everybody for trying, but better luck next year.
And Ross, if you're watching, you know why that you fell off the Ross League.
Mitch, obviously, the season's over. It's been a complete and utter disaster. What do we take from it?
Do you know, I think my kind of final wrap-up thoughts on today in particular are the refereeing nonsense needs called out on games like this and games like the Dundee game during the week, obviously with the same referee being rewarded for his failures and high-profile howlers less than, 72 hours prior to today. That same referee, no one can tell me that Colm has called him up on Thursday morning and went, mate, you've had an absolute mare. I need you in my office for a chat. Because I'm not being funny. If you and I had an absolute mare at our work, chances are we'd tap in the shoulder for your boss going, tomorrow morning, come into my office for a chat. Not to get sacked or anything, but just like we need to have a chat about whatever the howler was. In games like this, where the howler's so big on a game that means so little, this is the time that you make the voice as loud as it is when it's a high-profile one. And it does, for me, I think all of the clubs need to sit down with the SFA and the referee panel in this interim period before the pre-season starts and say, next season, here are the standards. We will all adhere to. Because right now, what we're currently doing is not working. It's not modern. We're getting laughed at by our peers down south. How many times is, what's his name? Is it Dermot Gallagher? Obviously, the referee down that does the Ref Watch. How many times has he had to spotlight a Scottish SPFL game? How many times has he had to go, referees have had a mare, referees have had a howler? The standard of a refereeing that we have had in Scotland this season was further highlighted with the fact that we had no Scottish referees in any of the major national competitions like the UEFA Nations Leagues, the Euros and the World Cups. And the standard has went that far down that our referees aren't even in the conversation, which is absolutely embarrassing. And that's embarrassing for the SFA, for the league, and for everybody involved, because it tells you that we do not have elite level referees.
Simple as. But the issue with that is that when Rangers choose to call out the referees, it's, paranoid, save call, blah blah blah. You're starting to see it through. You've seen it throughout the season. You have seen other clubs call it out, and you're like, well, where was it when we called it out? And we know there's obviously, and try not to play into the kind of the pantomime of it all, but there's one club that's not going to call it out because they get everything that they want. Let's be honest, right. There's going to be a club, a powerful club, that have influence over the decisions of the referees, and they're not going to want it to change. Why would you want it to change when everything goes your way? And I know
if it's not broke,
if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, to them anyway. But the other clubs need to grow a set and deal with it. And I'll be honest with you, Patrick Stewart a couple of weeks ago made a hell of an own goal with a tifo, with a statement about a tifo 2 hours post full time at Ibrox.
He better be in the press room right now.
He should be in the new. I don't know what he uses, his typewriter or whatever it is, to try and he should be steamed. He should be like Jim Carrey and what is it in Bruce Almighty, where he should be like that, typing out a statement just now, calling it out. He should call it out. I actually thought, if I thought Ferguson could have pulled the players off. He looked like he was going to pull the players off at one point. I understand why, obviously. You understand you can't do that, but this needs to be taken head on. We can't have this dignified silence nonsense. It's went on for too long.
Do you know? There's a really, really good expression that's used: a closed mouth that doesn't get fed. And if you keep your mouth closed in a situation like this, you're never ever going to be fed the right answer, or you're never going to be fed an answer that can hold the other party accountable. So the longer we sit down, keep our mouth shut, and accept the slop that we're being given by the referees, why would they change it unless they're challenged to? And that's the job of our CEO, our chief exec, and incoming owners to do, as actions speak louder than words.
It does, and it's not just about a statement. We can't just put a statement out, within the next 24 hours that says we are disappointed at the state of the decision. We will work harder with the referees next season to ensure fairer, blah blah blah. It needs to be head on. It needs to be direct, and it needs to be, don't say total warfare, but we've got to start boxing smarter against it. You can't just get this. We'll try and do better next time. Same as we've been talking about with the referees saying we'll do better next time. No, there can't be a next time. It needs to be sorted now.
Well, this is it. You nip it. Prevention's better than cure, and I think that's it. This season's it's been a shambles. It's been a white knuckle ride. We've had a few highs. We've had a few lows. We've had everything in between. We've had two managers. We're on a merry-go-round that never seems to stop when it comes to managers. And I think next season and now in this off-season period, takeover needs to be announced quickly. In the next couple of weeks, in my opinion, let everybody get their holidays, get all that jazz done. We know it's more or less done. Just come out, have said with it. The intention is it's going to be done for insert date X. It won't be announced until that date officially because of stock market or whatever. Insert your legal reasons here. Don't particularly care what way you want to waffle a statement out, but here's one pre-made for you, essentially. Gets the monkey off the back, everybody moves forward with their life and says, cracking, the quiet thing's already been said out loud because it's already out loud anyway. And then you say, right, manager, we will know who manager is by a week on Monday or a week on Tuesday or whatever, because it is our intention to have that in place before the players come back from pre-season, so that manager can have a chat with the out-of-contract players, the players who we know will definitely be leaving, and the players who he would like to stay. And you have done with that. Let the quiet bits get done in the background. And then the first protocol for the owners should be a meeting with the other teams, the other 11 teams in the league, and we have to include, the rivals across the city. We need to bring them into the meeting as well because everybody's got a right to be there. Everybody's got to sit down and say, the standard of refereeing here is absolute dog meat compared to the rest of Europe, which is why some of the other teams, not just Celtic and not just Celtic, but other teams in the SPFL struggled when they moved into European competition this season because you don't get anything at the elite level. You'll get 2 strikes and then you're going to get your backside turned. You'll get a card, you'll get whether that's a yellow, a red. Unlike in Scotland where one team's getting away with, what is it, something like 12 fouls before a yellow card's fished out. It's not acceptable.
It's not. It's not. It's simple. It's simple as, and until that happens, until the clubs come together and try and implement the change, it won't change. But the thing is, because there's such a huge us and them within the clubs of Scottish football, it's all it's like, well, we don't mind being bad as long as one of the clubs doesn't succeed. Do you know what I mean? I think that's my opinion. Is I think there's a lot of the clubs, the provincial clubs in the SPFL Premiership, quite don't mind, cutting off their nose to spite their face, as long as we don't win the title. They don't mind. It's as simple as we'll happily beat, as long as we can beat Rangers on a Saturday. We don't really care.
Exactly, and I think, as you say, we will have upcoming pods in the post-season that will cover the season ahead and no doubt cover topics like what we would like to see and everything else. But as for today, we've survived, not thrived. We've got here, we've all gone greyer. I've even got it in the beard now, you know what I mean? The foot, so I will be available for Santa work come December, so. But don't worry, I will find some of any of the listeners watching. We can have you as dwarfs as well. Don't worry, we don't discriminate. But we've survived, we've not thrived, we've made it to the end. And as the old expression goes, gay sera, whatever will be for the next few weeks.
Well, the future's not ours to see, but hopefully it's full of success, and we will try, as a fan group, I think we need to come together and try and get on board with whatever comes over the course of the summer. Whoever the manager is, we know there's been a lot of chat about it, a lot of debate. We will discuss that. The football might stop, but we here at the Journal do not. We will be here over the summer with pods regarding player transfers, the ins and outs, everything that happens. We'll have it covered here with all the guys across the network. I suppose we'll wrap it up there. The season's
We will
just been,
indeed, mate.
we will wrap it up because Scotty will boot us for it. First of all, just want to say thanks so much to everybody that's listened, everybody that's commented, liked over the season. And obviously thanks to you, Mitch, as well, for your magnificent insight as always.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. And a big thank you to the guys who are in the comments, pod after pod, guys who are watching us on their tea breaks, lunch breaks, ladies watching us wherever they're watching. And of course, everybody who is a they, them too. Anyone watching there in whatever way you like to watch. It's been great to have everybody here all season. We will be here in the close season. And yeah, don't forget that every night, I'll let you finish.
Every night is, of course, your Rangers Journal night. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and we will be back again very, very soon. Take care.